this up here. Maybe set it away.
Oh, okay. Thanks. You might be surprised, but this is the smallest crowd I've ever spoken to. I went to a function the other night, and I heard Sal Grover and Gillian Spencer both speaking, and both wonderful, brave women. And I thought at the time, a quote came into my head from Winston Churchill, actually. I usually don't quote Winston Churchill, but I thought it was pretty apt at this point. During the Battle of Britain, he said, "This isn't the beginning of the end." He said, "This is the end of the beginning." And it occurred to me, that's exactly the position that we're in now. That because of a few brave people, mostly women like you, we got through a really difficult time when it seemed that the whole trans movement just had every base covered. And if you questioned stupid assumptions that not only they were making, but even governments were parroting, that you placed your job in jeopardy, you placed your membership of an organisation in jeopardy, you placed your freedom in jeopardy sometimes. And certainly in terms of your reputation and public standing, that also was placed in jeopardy. And I found myself in the same boat, reluctantly. I've never been part of the women's rights movement, and I mean, I've been sympathetic, and I've given my support, but I've never been part of it. And I found myself subject to the same sort of vilification, the same sort of pressures, the same sort of sanctions that many of you have suffered over the years. But because we all stood up, and some of us took them to court, some of us just simply, and one I might add in my case, and Sal Grover will win, and a woman will be a woman in legal terms, and Gillian Spencer will win her cases. She's got a number of cases, and but it is just ridiculous that we've had to go to those extremes to just assert basic, simple, straightforward, common sense assumptions about life. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But we've had to do it. And this is not the beginning of the end. This is just the end of the beginning. And we're going to have to keep fighting. Now, when I got into this fight, as I said, reluctantly, there were four basic propositions that were really important to me. Political propositions. I've been an activist for many, many years, 50 years actually, and sorry, it's more than 50, isn't it? It's 55, and close on 60. And I know you think I'm not over 40, but you know. But there are four propositions or principles that I've adhered to over at least the last 40 or 50 years. And those principles are biological integrity, number one. Social justice, number two. Democracy, number three. Non-violence, number four. Those four. They've guided my life ever since. And they still do today. But what I found, and what I found in 2022, when I first came up, you know, happily retired with Libby there in a little village, and we were having a beautiful life, and all of a sudden we're thrown into this cataclysm. What I found was that those four principles, which I thought were embodied in organisations that I'd actually founded and were part of for a long period of time, have been totally undermined. Totally undermined. Like biological integrity, number one. The most important factor in my life, that we live on this planet in which there is a thin layer of life. It goes from the lower atmosphere to the bottom of the groundwater. And that's where all life exists on this planet. And we're part of that. We're part of those natural systems that exist on this planet. But we're also part of a species that has badly interfered with that integrity, that biological integrity, and is undermining it dreadfully. So that was the ecological imperative on which I based my environmental activism. But of course the other part of, and that's almost a spiritual belief, that, you know, we're part of nature and we should act accordingly with stewardship and with responsibility. But it also has to be backed up with science. Not cherry-picked science, not a fact picked here and here which just backs up your ideology, but a scientific approach that says we will investigate, we will subject our own assumptions to rigorous analysis, we'll accept criticism from others and learn from it, all of those sorts of things which go into make for good science. And we have to back up our stewardship role in the natural environment with that adherence to basic science. But what's happened? The organisations that I've been a part of for so long have cast that aside. They've cast that aside not so much in the area of the natural environment, but certainly in the area of human biology. Biological integrity of human beings has been totally undermined. We're faced with an ideology that says there are no boundaries. The human body, the human biology is not a boundary anymore. There's no such thing as biological males and biological females. I mean, that is the most anti-scientific proposition that I couldn't believe it when I first confronted this. I thought, how can you believe that? We believe that there are biological males and females for the last 2 million years, and so is basically every other species on the planet, and including plant species. And yet here we are, confronted with this ridiculous proposition that governments have even swallowed and incorporated into legislation. So biological integrity has been undermined by this stupid ideology. Social justice principle, the second of those principles, has also been undermined. And instead of universality, the idea that we share a common humanity, and that should underpin all of our approach to human rights, we've got tribalism. We've got tribal pursuits of political and social power by particular groups who portray themselves as victims when in fact they're not, and who demonise other groups in society who they see as undermining or oppressing them, causing them to be victims. It is a perverted notion of social justice. The same with democracy, the third principle on which I base my life. Democracy is a system with free and fair elections and rule of law and so on. But at the core of all of that is the whole notion of free speech. If you don't have free speech, you don't have democracy. If you don't stand for free speech, you are not standing for democracy. And I was thrown out of my party on the basis of I was not allowed my freedom of speech. And that is the key element in this whole struggle. We are not allowed to say that and Kirralie Smith is in court at the present time for saying it. We're not allowed to say there are biological males and biological females, and females should be able to have their own spaces. Gillian Spencer's got thrown out of her job for saying you shouldn't try to turn biological boys and biological girls into the opposite sex. This is the sort of, if you speak up against those things, then you are going to suffer the consequences. That is not freedom of speech. And the last one, non-violence. I actually I saw on my Facebook page some young women, I think it was, who said, who just were selling T-shirts that said, "Kill all fascists." And I said, well, hang on. First of all, what's a fascist? And secondly, why would you bother killing them? Or why would you not argue with a fascist or embody a lifestyle that says the opposite of what fascists are saying? Why are you saying kill them? And they said, they accused me of being a bigot. for not wanting to kill fascists. And I thought, my whole life, my whole adult life, I have adhered to non-violent social change. So if you want to change society, then you do it in a way that does not impact adversely on other people, that you try to persuade them through rational and civil argument and discussion. And I mean, in that I've followed ideas of Gandhi and Martin Luther King, people like that who've done it, and I've embodied it in all the campaigns that I've been involved in or led. And yet we have here a view of the world and an ideology that is totally antithetical to that, that says you kill fascists, or you kill Jews, or you kill kill Palestinians, whatever. You know, that somehow or other we lost the whole notion of non-violence in any sort of progressive politics, and I want to regain that. Now, Gandhi used to say, even if you're a minority of one, the truth is the truth. And I intend to, I'm not going to change my 4 pillars that have guided my life. I'm going to challenge those people who have undermined those 4 principles and say to them, you're on the wrong track. We need to recapture the spirit of democracy and environmental sustainability and democracy and social justice that have guided my life and guided the lives of so many other people. And unless we recapture those things, I believe our society is headed for dangerous times. Thank you.
Annie, do you want to go?